All right, we're back with what you need to know in sports for the week of October 22nd. We're going into, would you say we're halfway through football season, Karlee?
Think so. I think this is week 9 for at least college football, so we're getting close to nearing the end, which is kind of crazy to think about. I'd say we're, like, halfway-ish, maybe a little over halfway for college. I don't know about NFL. I know that season is longer, but
Yeah, that's true because that goes all the way into February.
Mhm.
But I guess college too, that goes into January because
Yeah.
all the bowl games.
Yeah, all the bowl games
So
happen.
maybe we're not halfway.
I know. Now that I say that, I'm like, "You're right. That's probably not true."
How was your weekend? You went to the Cowboys game.
Oh my gosh, it was good. We did go to the Cowboys game. This was the first time I've ever been to an NFL game. It's not my first time at AT&T Stadium, but it was for an NFL game. I've gone for concerts and then the Cotton Bowl last year between Texas and Ohio State was at AT&T Stadium. So we went for that, but it was a very different experience going to an NFL game. I
How
will
was
say that much. Well, luckily the Cowboys won, so it was like a
okay,
fun game overall.
okay.
But it's just crazy to me, the empire that Jerry Jones has built. I mean, honestly, say what you want about him, but when we got there, there were, I think there's 4 levels, and 3 of those levels on either side. So it's like obviously like a big oval, and each level has standing room only, packed, packed. And then well, there's, like, stairs to get up each level, and so each stair, you walk up and it has a landing, obviously, and then you kinda turn the corner to go up the next set of stairs, and those landings were built out even further to sell more standing room only tickets, so they're, like, 6 people deep on the staircase, just
Mare for
my
football.
literal nightmare, yes, and it's crazy because the people in the standing room only, like, I had never understood why whenever they open the doors for the games, people are sprinting in.
Me either, because I thought everyone just had a seat.
Right, well, my husband told me that it's because of these standing room only tickets that they sell so many of, but if you don't get there right when the doors open, you won't be able to even see the field, like, you'll literally just be watching the game from the screen because there's so many people on these levels. It is insane. It was a wild experience, like, there's also the way it's built, if you walk in from the wrong side, like, just know you're totally screwed. We walked in at, like I think you walk in at, like, the 200 level, and so we walked in at, say, 232 or whatever. Well, our seats were 216, and you would think, "Okay, well, let me just walk around to 216." No. They have built these, like, suites on either side of the field, and if you didn't pay for those suite tickets, you can't walk through. So it's not even like a normal suite that you would buy
Yeah,
out. They do have those, but also on each of these levels is just like a nicer area with like, I guess, nicer food and then nicer seats. I don't even know if they're
yeah,
nicer
there's
seats,
there's
but
some seats that are cushioned. I do
okay,
know.
yeah. So
Yeah,
maybe those are the nicer seats ones, but you can't even walk through. You have to go
that's
all the
crazy.
way up to the 4th level, walk all the way across, and then walk all the way back down. So we were at, I don't know,
That's
say
a
316. We had to walk up to the 4th. Well, first we started at 2. We had to go from 2 to 4, walk, I mean, sections past 316. We had to walk to like 308, go all the way back down and then, or walk to 408, go all the way back down and then walk back to 316. It was the craziest
that is
experience.
insane.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think about the times that I've been there for something, and I'm like, I must be so on autopilot that I have because I'm like so overwhelmed that I have no recollection because I feel like I have been in every section of that stadium. Like
Mhm.
I've been at the tippy tippy top for a Kenny Chesney concert, and I told my friends that I would never ever go to a concert with them ever again if these are the tickets that they are choosing because
That's so fair.
it was so terrifying. like, because when you get to the top, it's just like you were saying, like, it just gets steeper and steeper, and
Mhm.
I was just like, "This is terrifying," and then the screen is so big at that
Mhm.
stadium that your eye does just want to look at the screen,
Right.
especially if you're that high up, and then I have been in the AT&T suite before for Beyoncé and Jay-Z. I It was very nice.
That's so nice.
Yeah, the food was incredible, all of it. Like, One Direction is
Mm.
probably the last time I was at that stadium.
Yep. I know.
And
I
I'm
was
like
gonna say, like, besides the
yeah,
the college football game we went to, I think maybe Taylor Swift with Ed Sheeran or One Direction, whichever
yeah.
was the most recent. It's been
One
before that,
Direction
and
was so good.
I
I
know.
still think about that I think that that might be one of my favorite concerts I've ever been to.
It was
It was
so
so
good.
good.
Yeah, it was so good, and they came, like, right I think that was the one they came in August, so it was, like,
Yes.
the night before I started school. I was like, "I don't even care." Like, me and my friend Maddie went, like, it was just the best.
Oh my gosh, it was so much fun.
Yeah.
I am so sad. So I posted a bunch of videos from that on Instagram thinking and, like, I've had phones, like, lost or like, whatever, pictures
Right.
deleted. This was, what, 10 years ago?
At least.
Probably, right? So, like and so I thought, well, at least they're on Instagram. But apparently Instagram did this thing where any videos that are, like, over 10 years old, they remove the sound from them to free up storage space.
Uh-uh.
Mhm. Devastating. Like, those are the only
That would make
videos
me
that I wish I still had.
that would make me sick.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess, like, worse, like, if they're, like, for people who posted, like, family videos and things like that,
Yeah.
100%, but,
But I
like,
mean
I was truly devastated when that
I mean,
happened.
those are relics now, especially with
Yes!
everything that's happened, like,
Yes! Exactly, and that's how
that's a
I
priceless
discovered it. I
artifact.
know.
Yeah.
I know.
That's horrible. That is
But
horrible.
the memories will live on.
Yeah. Way better time there at that concert than this Cowboys game, even though they won. I
Who did
did
they
s
play?
They played the Commanders, Washington.
Well, yeah, they were Washington did terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, it
I
was
only
pretty
know
bad.
because I saw, like, the tweets of the Commanders literally posting, like, "If you have a jersey and you have ever caught a football before, please come to try out
That's tough.
tomorrow."
That's tough. Well, I will say we did also get to see because kickoff was at 3:30. So, which I'd seen memes of this before, but I'd never obviously seen it in action. But we did get to see how when they built the stadium, they built it facing like the west. They built it east to west, basically, which most football stadiums builds them north to south. I never thought about that before, but there's obviously people way smarter than me that had thought of about that before because when you think about it, when the sun is setting, the sun is literally right in their eyes
Yeah,
whenever they're playing. And we got to see that, like, even on the screen, they looked angelic because they were just glowing from the sun, like, just in the middle of the sun trying to play a catch game, a game of catch,
absolutely
and they're
not.
playing it in the sun, like, they're having to look dead in the sun to throw the football, and I was like, "Yeah, this is no wonder there's a meme of Jerry Jones being stupid because he built this stadium east to west," and
Would
so
cross anyone's mind.
I'm like, "Did I know I didn't think about it because
Right, but you're not an
why would
engineer.
I have?" Right, but surely someone else who has built a football stadium
Yes.
would have considered these things, but I guess not. They did not consider that for the Cowboy Stadium, so that is quite unfortunate for them. We did get to see that. Luckily, there wasn't anything crazy that's happened. I know there's been some games where they, like, have either missed a catch, missed a throw, or something crazy like that that has changed, like, the trajectory of the game because of the sun. Yeah, it was crazy. It was everyone there has, like, no sense of urgency. It just feels kind of like I don't know, you just kinda feel weird walking through it, like, it's just everything is screaming, like, commercialized money grab.
Disney World-ish,
Yeah.
like, it's, like, manufactured in a way, versus
Yes.
going to some of these, like, old school stadiums, like, going to Arrowhead, I mean, part of it is because, like, it hasn't been that updated, so
Mhm.
automatically it already
Right.
feels like, I don't know, just a little bit more organic or whatever, but I do think that that also plays into the atmosphere overall, where it feels so different,
Yeah.
and like Arrowhead, there's something a little bit cozier, I guess, about it, or like community-ish about it.
Mhm.
Whereas Cowboy Stadium does feel like you're going into a manufactured event.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, even I mean, we went to the Ohio State game a few
Yeah.
weeks ago, and that is even so different than this, and which I understand it's NFL and college, but it was just the whole vibe when you're there is like, all right, people like it is high stakes in a sense that it's a game, but it's kind of just like the players are there, the Cowboys come, they like do their job and they're like, whether we win or lose, like this was our job. We're going to go home. Like we got our ad breaks. We got, the ticket sales. And that's kind of all we needed to come here for. Whereas, like, at least my experience with college football, it like feels more high stakes and which people love the NFL. It's like you either love the NFL or you love college football. We're obviously a biased household to college football. So take it with a grain of salt. But it did just feel really different. It was like, okay, I'm walking into a business. Like, I'm
Yeah.
going to watch people do their job versus, like, college football is like, "Oh, I'm watching people play the game of football." Like, it felt more
Yeah.
authentic and, like, more exciting because it was like, "Oh, these people are playing for their lives." That's what it
Yeah.
feels like, whereas the NFL, it's like, "All right, well, go get them, and if you don't, it's alright. As long as we made the ticket sales, then we'll see you guys next season."
I feel the same with NBA versus college basketball. I feel like NBA, it's like hit or miss on a game if it's gonna have that, like, excitement to it.
Mhm.
I don't know, there's just sometimes you're like, "Is everyone phoning it in today because 'cause we're
Yeah.
tired?" Or whereas, like you were saying, the college kids, like, have something that they're just, like, so all in on.
Mhm. Yeah. What was also interesting too, which I again never thought about, but we were talking about stadium sizes and
Yeah, that's
most
true.
college football stadiums are bigger than NFL stadiums. And I was like,
Wait,
seriously? Like,
what? I thought you were gonna say the opposite.
no, most like the biggest or the biggest stadiums are college football stadiums when it comes to the amount of people that they hold. Yeah. And I think y'all can fact check me on this, but we were talking about it on Sunday and I think this is the number my husband said, but the Ohio State Stadium, so the shoe, it holds 20% more people than AT&T Stadium, which is a lot of people. Yeah.
My dad always had a funny, I can't remember what the actual breakout is, but he said that when they built the Rice Stadium, which Rice has, like, what, 3,000 kids max?
Yeah,
Probably,
not
like,
many. There's, like, high
I think
schools
that
bigger than Rice.
might be generous. It might be, like, 1,800. But apparently their football stadium is, like, the size of what you would expect a D1 football stadium to be in, that you could, like, have all the current students, all the alumni, all the
Mhm.
ones that have died and still, like, never even be able to fill, like, 1/10 of the stadium or something like
Is
that.
crazy. I thought it was also interesting there's obviously, it's hard to check this, but we were also talking about, like, what percentage of people at college football games are, like, students, alumni, like, affiliated with certain or, like, with that college, and so I guess Rice is banking on a bunch of people that didn't go to Rice coming to their football games.
They had to have been banking, yeah, on the people that they were playing against.
Yeah,
Because I guess you have the advantage of being in Houston, so you literally do have everyone who went to every other school in Texas. Because this was
yeah,
back in the Southwest Conference days. So, like,
mhm.
I think that is when they were like, that would have been Baylor and all those
Yeah.
too, I think. So, I guess because there's no way anyone ever thought, "Let's build out Rice's football program."
Right.
Like, that's you don't go to they do have a great baseball team historically,
Yeah.
but yeah,
It's not
I
just the driver.
but yeah, I don't know, I'm very curious about the backstory on their stadium because my dad makes it seem like it was this, like, whole strange thing that happened.
That is so interesting.
But speaking of baseball, okay, so I love when we're on the same page about things because I sent you this reel about the sports equinox that's
Mhm.
coming up, and then I went and checked our notes, and then you had already typed it out. But so the sports equinox, it's happening on October 27th, I
Next
believe,
Monday,
next
yes.
Monday. Okay, yeah. And so that's when every professional sport plays on the same day.
Mhm. Yeah, so it only happens, I think, once a year, definitely in the fall. If it happens again, it's like a wild circumstance, but once a year in the fall, all 4 major sports teams that are in season play on the same day. So you can find an in-season basketball game, an in-season football game, an in-season hockey game, and then the World Series for baseball. They're all going on at the
Sounds
same
like
time.
a TV programming nightmare.
Yeah. I'm like, it also sounds like people are fighting over ad dollars.
Right. I'm like, because okay, so Monday Night Football is that
I think so.
okay. So that would be that World Series.
Let's see.
That I have no idea. I'm guessing ESPN would take basketball.
Fox Sports
So that
is
that
doing
feels right for baseball.
for baseball, yeah.
Okay, that feels right. And then hockey, I don't even know.
I have no idea.
I would have no idea where to guess with that.
You can watch it on Prime Video, ESPN,
Oh, okay.
Hulu. Okay, so the streaming services are getting in on all of these too,
Oh,
which is interesting.
exhausting.
It's like when people had to pay for Peacock to watch the Chiefs game last year.
Yes. Yes, exactly. I can't keep track because what Prime last year started doing Thursday night football?
I think so, yeah.
I cannot keep track. I'm like, bring back cable, just bring it
Yeah,
back.
yeah,
I don't care.
yeah. Well, and even we too have, with all of these things, we have like all the streaming services, YouTube TV, and
Yes,
NFL Red Zone, which
yes,
is another addition. And I'm like,
it's insane. And I'm sure that I'm double paying for some because now that they're bundling,
but
when
yeah,
like the Apple TV, now you can get Peacock through that. And I was
mm-hmm,
definitely paying for Peacock separately.
but yeah,
And then these credit cards, they all have things like credits to like HBO Max or whatever, but I know I'm separately paying for HBO. I need someone to just look at everything and just create the Venn diagram of where I'm like what I need to cancel and what I don't, because I'm certain that I'm probably paying 3 times more than I need to. I can't keep track.
no, same. I'm like, oh, do we have this? Okay, great. Looks like we do. And then I'm like, oh, we don't have this. Well, I didn't need to watch it that badly
Right.
anyway.
Exactly. 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 Like, I honestly don't know the last time I opened Apple TV.
Yeah, it's been a while.
I'm sure there's good stuff on it, but I kinda stick to the same.
The last thing I watched on Apple TV, well, that's not true, actually. We did watch Severance.
I still haven't, and it's on my list.
Okay, that one is very good. That one, we watched Severance, and then obviously we watched Ted Lasso when that was, like, going on, but that's the last thing we watched on Apple TV, so other
Okay.
than that, I'm like, I'm good. Like, I don't need
Yeah.
it.
It's only a moment of time till Apple TV gets in on the sport. They can do hockey. They can take
Yeah,
hockey.
there you go.
Okay, so for the World Series, that starts on Friday, and it's Toronto versus the Dodgers, which I feel like I truly would if you had told me that, I would've just been like, "Huh, okay." I have no idea what's happened in baseball in the last 4 to 5 years
No,
at all.
same. I remember the wave when the Rangers won,
Yes,
obviously,
I
and then
remember.
there's just, like, really random one-off games that I'm like, "Oh, that must have been interesting," like the one we talked about last week or the week before
Yeah,
with 15 innings, but
yeah.
which also whenever I know we talked about my TikTok last week, but it brings up a very good point that some people were commenting on there like, this is why I chose the sport of baseball. This is why I prefer baseball. And I was like, I feel like
Interesting.
baseball is so much worse. Their season is so long,
And so many games.
so many games. I'm like, yeah,
There
there
could
might
be
be,
5 games in 1 week.
right. I'm like, there might be 49 days of football, but baseball, it's like every other day for 10 and a half months out of the year.
Literally, I live like well, I'm not gonna I'm not I'm not gonna say. I was gonna say something very specific.
At the corner of.
All that to say is because the baseball stadium in DC is in DC itself, I'm very aware of the traffic patterns
Hmm.
and how frequently the games are because of the traffic pattern.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, oh my gosh, that does not feel like the correct argument.
No, no,
And
not
same
at
with
all.
basketball. There's so much basketball.
Yeah. I think they play like 80 something games in a season.
Yeah.
Like, that's so much. When you think about it,
Well, and hockey too. Hockey too, right? They do like the 3 days in a row.
yeah, because they all play series.
Yeah.
But football is like one and done. You play this
These,
game, go to the next game, but they all play series style games. And so it's like we're on our series of, games 6 out of 9 or something like that.
yeah. No. And maybe that's why football for me is also easier to keep track of
Mhm.
because I just have to worry about one game a week.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Or one day a week if you're like a college football fan. It's
Right.
like,
Yeah.
I know there's going to be a lot of games, but at least I only have to worry about one day.
Exactly. Exactly. So for our touchdown tea, NFL. Last week we didn't touch on, well, you and I talked about the NFL. The world didn't get to hear our thoughts on the NFL
Yeah.
because of technology problems. But I thought the most interesting game last week was the Broncos against the Giants, where the Broncos were losing like super, super bad. And then they ended up winning by 1 point, which is absolutely wild.
That's wild.
And it was just like a crazy series of events of like, oh, they just scored again. Oh, now they scored again. Now the game is tied, and then yeah, by 1 point.
That is crazy.
Apparently, the fans had all left the stadium halfway through because they were playing so badly. Yeah,
Oh my gosh. Yikes.
I
That's
know,
really bad.
I know.
It also will, this is totally tangential, but it makes me think um, my husband and I started watching Chad Powers last night.
How was it?
It was honestly really funny.
Okay, I
I
haven't decided if I don't know. I haven't been sure about it.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
I'd seen people were saying if you want a show to watch with like your boyfriend or your husband, like this is a good one because it's funny for both parties.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
can totally attest to that. It was really funny for the both of us, especially because my husband is really into college football. They had like announcers from game day. They like acted it out like it
Oh,
was a real college
fun.
football game. So it was
Okay.
really funny. We're only one episode in, so take it with a grain of salt. But it had my husband is a hard laugh, and it had him laughing,
Okay.
and I enjoyed it too. So, but the starting scene of it, it is kind of tragic, like you were just saying with the Broncos and the Giants. It's a very tragic scene. I won't spoil anything, but I mean it's like in the first 5 minutes of the series, but it is just unfortunate that games happen like that.
I know. Can you just imagine you're on the Giants and you think you've got the game locked down and then you lose by 1?
Especially because the Giants aren't in first a lot. They're not
No.
winning a lot in general, and so they're like, "Yes, this is the best, like, we're
Yeah.
actually gonna win a game."
But like goes to show too, like the stamina if like it's so easy to be like, okay, we're not gonna win this game, so let's just try not to get hurt and finish the game. But clearly things can turn around. I think
Yeah,
that's the most fun about sports is when you have those moments where like it just completely flips. Like I really just I just want the fun, exciting things.
Exactly, exactly. We want the drama.
Exactly. Um, okay, and then I had such a brain freeze because this is so silly, but because the Giants' colors are blue and white and the Bills' colors are blue and white, I was like, "Oh, this is a perfect segue to talking about Josh Allen and Hailee Steinfeld." But it's not because he plays for the Bills, not the Giants.
That's a fair mistake. That's a fair mistake.
But they're the same colors. But for some reason, he did this interview with ESPN in September, and all of a sudden it's all over my feed a month later. I don't know how the algorithm does weird things, but he talks so much about how his life, he thought before meeting Hailee and getting married and all this, that his life was just like 100% football. And now he, how like, yes, football is so important, but also how he's found so much purpose in just like starting a family, wanting to talk about having kids one day, and just how much he likes being her husband. And
That's
I
so
think that that
sweet.
is so sweet and so nice and so refreshing to have these like sports figures
Mhm.
be able to talk in such a loving way about their spouse. I think it's
That's
so
really
important, and it
sweet.
just made my heart so happy.
That's so cute. I did not see that interview, but that is so sweet. I'm gonna go watch it after this because I really do appreciate that as well, and I think that's not something we see a lot, and so respect to him. Everything I know about him, I've learned, like, just in passing, but I gotta give it to him, like, go off, king.
I know,
Like,
right?
stand by your woman. I respect that.
Exactly, and just, like, being like, "I look forward to coming home to her." Like,
Mhm.
it's just it's something so simple, but you don't hear it that often, and
Mhm.
I think it sets such a good example that it's okay to say those things instead of, like, there's nothing that drives me more insane when people refer to their wives as, like, the ball and chain, or, like,
Yeah.
"Gotta get back home to the wife or she's gonna get mad at me." Like, that is
Yeah.
one of my biggest pet peeves, and I know half the time they're just saying it because they feel like that's what they're supposed to say, but they're actually excited to go home. But it just I don't know. There's something about that, so I just love seeing examples like that of him just being like, "Yeah, I love this new chapter for myself."
No, I love that. I think that's so precious and adorable, and I think I'm like, "We need more attitudes like this."
Yes, and, like, he's probably so much more happier than the person who does complain, you know?
Mhm. Oh, 100%.
I don't know, but
Yeah.
I thought that that was a fun little thing, and
Yeah.
then
Well, that
the
also like, that kind of leads me into the other side of that, though, which I have seen some discourse online about this of I don't know if it was an account that posted this or just, like, the chatter online, but people were obviously hating on Taylor Swift for everything, but they were hating on her because they were like, "If you wanna be a supportive wife, like, you need to not work, like, you need to basically go follow Travis Kelce around, like, you don't see" and they were comparing her to essentially Hailee Steinfeld, and they were like, "You don't see Hailee making each game about her, like, traveling and, like, causing a lot of a scene, putting all the cameras on her, like, whenever Josh is in season, she doesn't work, like, she just follows Josh around and, like, essentially keeps her mouth shut and just is a wife," and they were like, "Taylor Swift needs to take some notes," and I was like, "I don't necessarily
mm,
know if I agree with that."
career.
Right. Well, and I'm like, Travis Kelce literally went on stage at a Taylor Swift concert. Like, talk about making it
Exactly.
about me.
Right,
Like,
right.
that doesn't make any sense.
Taylor has no control over what cameras are like,
Right.
if 100 fans decide to point their phones at Taylor Swift, she didn't orchestrate that.
Right. And I'm
Whereas
like,
if you see Hailee Steinfeld in the wild, maybe you recognize her, maybe you don't. I'm
right.
sorry.
No, there's a good chance you would
Love
not
her.
know.
She seems
Yeah.
great, but I'm literally walked past, bumped into Arnold Schwarzenegger a few weeks ago, and someone had to tell me that it was Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. That reminds me, when we were at the Cowboys game, because my friend from high school, she posted on her story, she was like, I have free tickets if anyone wants them, whatever. And so when we got there, we were just kind of wandering around because we didn't really know where we were going. And the gate that we went into, we walked by this person, and my husband was like, I think that's Daniel Gafford, who plays for the Mavericks. And I was like, really? And he was kind of bent over trying to get his ticket out because
So
he
you
was
could
just
see
in
how
like,
tall I was.
no, well, literally, because he was just in like basketball shorts and a t-shirt. And then
Yeah.
he like actually stood up, and we were like, oh yeah, that's got to be Daniel Gafford. Like, there's no other question. Like, that man is 8 feet tall.
Like, in the wild, out of context, you don't know
Right.
that, oh,
And I'm like, Hailee Steinfeld is obviously a celebrity and people know who she is, but Taylor Swift is literally like the most famous person in the world.
of all time.
It's literally apples and oranges.
You can't compare, you can't compare.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's so unfair, but everyone's always gonna pick their complaints about her.
But yeah.
But, okay, so you had something on here about the NFL, a little fun fact for us, and I don't know where you're going with this,
Okay,
so
well,
I have no idea.
this is just for anyone who's also wondered this question because I didn't know. The past couple of weeks, I would say it started maybe like, yeah, a couple weeks, a month ago, we would wake up on Sundays and there would be a game that was like halfway over, an NFL game. And I was like, are you watching reruns or something? What is going on? And my husband was like, no, they're playing in Europe right now. And I was like, why? So if you too are wondering why you've been seeing NFL games happening in like London and stuff like that, there is no other reason other than like the NFL makes more money. And I was like, that's it?
Stadium?
I guess so, but they have to play. I mean, I would assume so because they play in like football stadiums or like soccer
Soccer.
stadiums. Yeah. The different football stadiums, which are obviously much smaller. So yeah. And so I'm like, why are they doing this? Is this a series? Is this a new thing? And my husband was just like, no, they can just make more money by like then advertising over there too.
It's so, and, like, I guess NFL, I can make more sense of that, but TCU and North Carolina play in Dublin next year,
Hmm.
and, like, I don't those are 2 very niche schools. Those aren't, like, schools that abroad people, like, are
Right.
fans of,
Right.
I don't think.
Right.
Maybe North Carolina more. I don't even think, like, when I think about my mom who grew up in Barcelona, she said that in the I think it was, like, the '70s or '80s, the cool thing to have was a UCLA sweatshirt, and they would call it UCLA, your UCLA sweatshirt. But
Hilarious.
yeah,
Oh my
but
gosh.
yeah, I'm just, like, having TCU and North Carolina play in Dublin,
Yeah. It's
is
just,
that a money? I guess you're gonna get the alumni to go and pay to go there, but I don't know. It
I
feels
don't know.
weird.
It feels
The
weird.
NFL makes a little bit more sense, but still, like, it is funny to think about how people are just choosing their random team to
Right.
support.
Well, and it also just like adds on to the fact that the more I learn about football, the less I understand because this is just another random niche thing that I'm like, why would they do this? Like, who is thinking of these things? And no one really has an answer. It's just like, this is just kind
Yep.
of what we do, which I feel like is a lot of the answers I get when talking about football, whether NFL or college. Just kind of like, well, that's the thing that we've always done, or this is just something someone wanted to implement, so now we do it.
Okay, this I have a good transition. I have a good transition for our college touchdown tea. How Texas Tech throws tortillas at the start of every game,
Oh my gosh.
or no longer. But
Or no longer. Yeah.
that is one of their biggest traditions, I
Mhm.
think, at the beginning. And as the conferences are getting more strict about like what the fans are doing, it was it's been a long time coming that these tortillas were no longer be able to be thrown. In a lot of ways I didn't expect it to be fully banned. I thought that it would be like, okay, we have to do it, but within like these parameters.
Right. Or you can do it for this period of time, and anything like once kickoff actually happens, if we see a tortilla, then, then the consequences are going to come. But
Because isn't that what makes college football so special is the fun, silly things like that?
right, like the first time I went to an Ohio State game, I looked around me and everyone was taking off their shoes for kickoff. And I
Yeah,
was like,
it's so
why are
funny.
we taking off our shoes? And everyone was just like, oh, we just yell at the end of like our little, whenever they're kicking the ball off, it's like whatever they say. And then they're like, take his shoes. No one really understands it. And no one can kind of explain the origins to me every time I ask. But that's just one of the things they do. So if you ever go to an Ohio State game, just know you're going to have to take your shoe off and wave it in the air for kickoff.
I would be so confused the first time that I saw
Yeah.
that, but again, it's what makes college so endearing.
Hmm.
So I do think it's sad that the tortillas are being banned.
Well, and it's like a serious penalty now because you can say, like, oh, we don't want you to do this. And like students will probably still do it or whatever. But now, like, the team gets penalized, the school gets penalized, and the student gets penalized if they catch you throwing the tortilla.
That's insane.
Yeah.
They really don't want the tortillas thrown.
Yeah. They're like, if we see a tortilla or if you're bringing in tortillas or we see you throw it, like, the student could lose access to getting game tickets for the rest of the season.
So what was there a straw that broke the camel's back on making this happen? Did something go horribly wrong with the tortillas? Because this has been going on for forever.
Right. It's interesting that you say that because I was reading an article before this talking about like the tortillas or whatever. Who decided this? What's the big deal? And someone asked, I think it was the head coach, like, why do you think it's now that they're like cracking down on this? And people are kind of saying that because tech is actually really good this year, that now they're like choosing to penalize tech for some reason. I don't know how that correlates, but the discourse
Interesting.
online is that no one's really paid attention to tech. So no one really cared beforehand because they weren't like as good as they are currently. And so now that they are, they're like, okay, well, now we're putting a lot more attention on tech and I don't know if they don't want to stream games where they're throwing tortillas in the air, or maybe they're hoping that the tortillas will be thrown because then the school gets fined. I think it's $100,000. Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, it's definitely
Makes
interesting.
me sad. Okay.
Like, let them have the tortillas.
I know. It's just again, it's what makes those atmospheres what they are.
Right.
I'll be curious if it's like if it comes back maybe like next year or in 2 years or something like that.
Yeah, I agree.
And it just like falls off their radar.
Yeah.
And then we have to I'm like because we have to talk about this, I think we have to talk about this. We have to talk about Bill Belichick again.
Okay. Well, actually, I was talking to my husband about it, and I think we both got punked. Because I literally asked my husband because we were obviously talking about it yesterday because the Duke Chronicle posted this online that Bill Belichick is going to like resigning from UNC and going to be an assistant coach at Duke. And
Was it satire?
yes. So literally my husband was like, what are you talking about?
I'm so scared to be 80 years old.
No, literally. And I was kind of like, oh, like, I know something you don't know. I was like, well, get a load of this. Like, Duke posted an article that Bill Belichick was going to be an assistant coach there. And he looked it up and he was like, I hate to break it to you, but like, that's not real. And I was like, what do you mean that's not real? Like, Duke posted it. And he was like, it's satire.
So
So,
funny. Well, because I was just like, what are the chances that it would
right,
be Duke of all places? That makes
right.
no sense.
Right. We were like, what's the ties? Like, is Jordan from there? Like, why is he doing this now? And you even said, you were like, I thought this was an onion, like the onion post. And I was like, me too. So yeah.
I'm truly so scared of what's gonna happen. One of my friends, she texted me yesterday and she said that her dad's friend is currently getting catfished by someone pretending to be a professional. golfer, so he literally thinks he's marrying this professional golfer girl. And
No.
and I guess there's this entire scam happening right now about this particular golfer. I can't remember her name, but there was this whole article that people are creating fake TikTok accounts pretending to be her. Like, you know this, like, they take all her videos
Huh?
and upload
Yeah.
into that, and yeah, so her dad is trying to convince him that this is a scam.
That's so
So
sad.
bad.
I cannot believe
And
that. That
it's
hurts
only
my
gonna
heart. Like, I'm gonna
and
be
I'm
sick.
I know, and I'm so scared for all this AI stuff
Mhm.
where you can actually, like, make someone look like they're talking to you.
Mhm.
And I saw OpenAI is creating this social media app for teenagers where essentially they'll be able to do that.
Oh, no.
And it gives me so much anxiety.
No, I
I'm
have a
so
pit.
scared. I hate it so much. I literally fell for the AI video of the dogs jumping off diving boards in the Olympics. Like, I cannot. Like, I
No, no, it's so fair because I totally have done that, and I will have to read the comments and be like,
yes, I
I
always
need
check
to
the
go outside.
comments.
No, as someone who does live a lot of their life online, who does like post online, I have never been more sure of if and when my husband and I do have kids, they will not come close to any sort of social media whatsoever until they're 25.
No, literally, literally. I'm truly terrified for what's to come.
Yeah.
And I'm not a doomsday person. I am like the most optimistic person in the world who
Mhm.
will tell you that there can be so much good that comes from the internet because people do get connections that they never would have gotten otherwise. All these things.
Mhm.
There's so much good that can come of it. But the tech bros who are just like have no personality and are just sitting behind their computers being like, wouldn't it be cool if we just like created fake people? I'm like, you go touch grass.
Yeah. You need to go outside. You need to be kicked off the internet. Like your privileges are revoked.
Yeah. And then they become billionaires because they created OpenAI. Like, I
Mhm.
just, and the fact that they've already decided that this app is to target teenagers, I think is what sends me more. I
Yeah.
think it would have made me less mad if they were just like, we're creating this social app
Mhm.
and being like, you have to be 18 and up or something. Like,
Right.
I still wouldn't like it, but something about it being targeted at teenagers is so icky.
Yeah. No, I don't like it. I don't like that at all.
No. Okay. So, well, on that note,
Yeah, we'll step off our soapbox now.
don't, please don't scam us.
Yeah. Please stop posting articles like that because there are vulnerable people out there like us that will read them and believe them. Like, we're just trying to make it here, okay?
Promise, we promise you that we do fact check.
Yeah,
And that is why we didn't just announce to you
right.
that this happened.
That's why we're having this conversation so you can be aware too.
Another repeat conversation that we have been having on here that I never thought we would is the Penn State
Mhm.
stuff. So they're still on the interim coach. They haven't
Mhm.
announced the new one.
Yeah, they haven't announced a new coach yet. They did lose last weekend. I don't know what's gonna happen this weekend. Like, it went really bad really quickly.
Oh, do you think it's because morale?
I think so. Like, no one's excited about them anymore. They went from being, like, the number 1 pick, like, top contenders for the national championship to an embarrassment. Like, honestly, it's so sad.
That is so sad. That reminds me of my first year in college before I transferred to TCU. I was at Loyola Marymount and we
Mhm.
were supposed to have this amazing basketball season. Like, we got amazing recruits who ended up transferring to KU and like
Mhm.
going to the Final Four. So like they really did recruit well.
Yeah.
And the coach used to be an NBA coach that they had just
Dang.
hired. Supposed to be great. Coach walks out in the middle of the first or in the first half. He never comes back. I remember this game against Notre Dame because it was my first game as a college cheerleader. And yeah, so we were playing Notre Dame. Coach leaves, never comes back. And then like, literally never came back. So the assistant coach stepped in, and they just had this terrible season. The basketball team ended up writing a letter to the student body apologizing for how bad the season was. And then the next year, they went around to all the sororities and were, like, just trying to get people to go to the game because USA Today wrote an article about how at the games there were literally only 3 people in the stand, and, like, they were basically the moms. It was
My gosh.
so sad, and just the morale on the team was so low, the players felt so bad, and the players were good players, like, again, like, when they transferred to KU, they went straight to the Final Four,
Yeah.
and it was just so heartbreaking, but they finally started luring in students by if you were 21 and up, the school had free alcohol. It was not a dry campus. Very, very Jesuit of them to have.
That
There was
is
literally a bar on campus, but where you had to just
so
swipe your
funny.
ID. I know. But yeah, like, it's demoralizing.
Yeah, it really is. And again, when it goes bad, it just goes bad so fast.
Yeah, it really does.
See, I feel bad for all the players that came back for their 4th year thinking like this is our year. That is so tough.
I know, it makes me so sad.
Yeah, poor Penn
But
State.
for the ones who are excited, the games to talk about for this coming weekend, I think Missouri against Vanderbilt is an interesting one because
Mhm.
speaking of people coming on for their 4th year, when they were freshmen, they probably had no expectation that they were gonna be this good this year
Oh,
for either team,
100%. Yeah,
honestly.
yeah. No, I know, we were watching some sort of show that's on in the daytime, so you know it's gotta be, like, weird and obscure, but they were, like, giving their hypothetical rankings, and Texas A&M was in the top 12. Like, no one would have thought that for Texas A&M, especially
Oh,
after, like, they kind of tanked after all the Johnny Manziel stuff. It, like, hasn't been their year in, like, a decade, and so it was interesting to see them in the top rankings again.
yeah. It's so fascinating. It makes me think about one of my friends asked me today about the rankings because also Virginia is ranked 16. You would never think Virginia was gonna be ranked. She went to
No.
Virginia. So she had heard people talking about how good Virginia is. She's not like a super football girly. And she was like, "But I thought like good meant like being in the top 5." And I
Mhm.
joke that top 5 is reserved for the SEC and then like Ohio State.
Yeah.
So
There's
like
always, like,
16 is
4
actually really good.
4 SEC and then, like, 1 Big Ten.
Exactly, exactly. And so she was like, "How do these college teams get ranked? And are are the cards stacked against a school in the ACC or the Big 12 because they're not playing, in theory, the higher ranked teams? Like, is it like this whole cycle where it's just easier to get ranked if you are an SEC school because the assumption is your schedule is harder?" I think yes, but then I have actually no facts to go based off of. I know because it's a voting system, right? Like, it's a group of people who are voting what the rankings should be.
Yeah, it's like this ominous group of people that no one really knows a ton about, which is so funny to me.
I
But
know.
it is like there have been games that we were watching where it has you would think at face value, for example, it has nothing to do with Ohio State. Ohio State either played and won against them or they're not even on their schedule at all. But if you're an Ohio State fan, you're like, I want XYZ to win because it makes us look better if we beat them. And so it is based off of your schedule. And again, this ominous group of people are like, oh, well, I think A&M should be ranked higher than Missouri because they have had a harder schedule. And the longer the season goes on, the more that goes into it because whenever, again, this is just because we're an Ohio State household, whenever Ohio State played Texas and beat them at the beginning of the year, it was like a really big win. It was a crazy game. Like it totally like projected the rankings for a while because they were like, Texas and Ohio State are supposed to be some of the best teams this year. And then when Texas kept losing and kept looking really badly, everyone was like, oh, well, is Ohio State really that good? Because their schedule's not as hard because Texas has been losing. So Texas isn't really a good team. And so it's like this vicious cycle of you can keep winning and winning and winning and winning, but you might get a lower rank just because the other teams are playing perceived harder schedules.
Well, and the annoying thing too is that the initial ranking is set before anyone has even played.
Right.
So you're starting this baseline off of hypotheticals of
Right.
like how UNC was supposed to be incredible.
Right.
And
now look at them.
it drives
I know. It's
wild.
just like, I understand that there are facts to it. Don't get me wrong. But it is low-key subjective, and that's the crazy part. Like, I remember, I guess it was 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, whenever it was just a 4-team playoff, and it was either Florida, I think it was Florida or Florida State. They had an undefeated season. They won all of their games. However, they did not make it to the playoffs because their quarterback got hurt. And Alabama made it in over them, and everyone was shocked because Alabama did not have a winning, or they had a winning season, but they were not undefeated. Like, they had lost some games. Yeah, or they had lost a game, but the college football board, or whatever they're called, they were like, well, Florida State, although they've been good, or Florida, or it may not even be a Florida team. You guys can fact check me. It's been a few years, okay? They were like, well, their quarterback's hurt now, and they had like a less hard schedule, so Alabama should go in over them. And so at that point, they were like, you could win every single game and still not be considered good enough to make the playoffs because of this group of people who decide all of these things.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It's
it
so
would
strange.
bother my soul so much.
Yes. Yes. And again, every time I ask another question or more questions about this process or who decides this or why is it done this way, all anyone could ever give me is like, we're not really sure. This has kind of always been this way. And you're like, okay, well, that's not helpful.
Okay.
Yeah. Literally, you're like, all right, well, why do I even try? This is why people don't even bother with college football or sports in general, because
Right.
it's complicated like this.
Exactly, and 90% of the time you don't even that's the thing. If you do finally, like, feel brave enough to ask the question, it kinda never gets answered,
Right. Right.
and that's the beauty of this podcast.
Yep. And that's why we're here. We can all discuss together.
Exactly, exactly. Alright, that is what you need to know for this week and last week, and we will be back next week with a little recap, and next week we should do best dressed, who we think was best dressed in
Yes.
sports.
Okay. We will
That
do
will
that.
come next week.
Yeah. Y'all can keep us accountable. We will be
Yes.
doing that.
Yes. Alright. Thanks for listening, y'all, and we'll talk to you next week.
Bye, guys.